Hey Exoticals, how are you guys doing today? It's your girl with another Exotical rant. Let's get right into it. This is my experience as a church girl, at least one of them. So I grew up in the church. My mom would make us go to church all the time. Long story short, when I became a teen, I always was very side-eyeing people in the church. Even when I was little, I always got certain people I always got a weird vibe from. And I literally would stay away from them. I literally would just stick to my mom the whole time. Literally, I would be glued to her hip because certain people gave me the heebie-jeebies or whatever. So, long story short, when I was a teenager, I want to say I was about 17, I started to work at this other church that was close by my house. This was not my home church, but this was a mega church. It was close by my house. I started to kind of do the daycare there. And when I did the daycare there, I met a lot of weird people. This church was very popular in my town. It was a mega church. The guy that ran it, people used to really worship him. They loved him. While working there, I used to always tell my mom weird stuff that would happen. My boss was a definitely pervert. He would intentionally tell me things were wrong with my clothing. So I would bend over and things until the second time I just realized he was a pervert and I just walked off. He was just really he really liked me, to the point where I could probably get away with anything. I used to fall asleep while at work. I would not get fired. He caught me several times sleep and he would just wake me up and tell me to go get some coffee. Honestly, I felt like he just really wanted to touch me to wake me up, but he was a pervert again, like I said. And he was marrying this, he was actually a mixed guy, I think multi-generationally mixed guy, but he was a straight pervert though. And he was marrying this unambiguous dark-skinned black woman. I don't know why he was marrying her. I think it was maybe for a financial benefit. But again, I was so young, I didn't even realize it at the time. But his whole time that he was engaged, he told nobody. And then one day, everybody found out that he was engaged and about to get married. And everybody was like, oh, why didn't you say anything? And he was just like, I don't know. Again, he really liked mixed women and light-skinned women because, that's all he would hire. When people came into the gym, because it was a gym I worked at specifically, they would have thought we were all related because all the women that worked there were light skinned. We all had light to tan skin with dark long hair or red hair, mostly dark hair. So we all looked like sisters. To the point where people thought this older lady that worked there, I think she was in her 30s at the time when I was 17. They thought she was my mom. Because, literally, he would hire only light-skinned girls and women to work there. And, different guys, of course. But all the women there were mostly light-skinned. So I fit right in. We all pretty much got along. He did hire, one brown-skinned girl that I was really cool with. But, again, she was, a model type. Think of Naomi Campbell, right? She was very beautiful and very thin. She could walk any New York, London, Paris runway. So he hired her, but again, she was the token. But okay, so there was that. And then it was other guys there. They were all kind of perverty, but my boss was the most perverted one. Some of the guys, I lived really close to this church, so I could literally walk. So sometimes when they saw me walking, they would give me rides or they would tell me stuff oh, when you turn 18 or if you were 25, the things I would do to you. And I would be like, ew. And then just stay away from them. Again, this is supposed to be a mega church. They were supposed to all be Christian men, but they did not act like it. They would be like, oh, you have a nice shape. Again, I was 17 working here. So let's get right into it. The pastor, I think he was the most perverted one, to be honest. I met him one time. He gave me a hug and literally, he took all the life out of my body. I literally thought that he was demonic. But he didn't touch me inappropriately or anything. It was just something about that hug that made me think that he was evil. And I don't know. And I've always been told that I have really strong discernment. And I went home and told my mom what happened. And she was like, did he touch you inappropriately? And I was like, no, it's something not right about him. Then my mom was like, well, don't worry about it. You don't have to hug him again. But like, she was like, as long as he didn't touch you inappropriately, did he say anything? I said he was very nice to me and gave me a hug. But it was something about that hug that it's just something about him that's not right. Let's fast forward. Basically, this pastor was SAing boys in the church, teen boys. He was having, sexual relationships with them, whatnot, and he was found out. They actually broadcasted it on the news, and he was facing like civil litigation because they were suing him for like grooming them, and it was a big thing. Before, like, everybody thought he was going to step down. Before he could step down, he died. His family claimed he had cancer, but everybody thought it was, like HIV or whatnot. But long story short, working at that church really taught me that it's a lot of wolves in sheep's clothing. And, like, I knew something was going on because, like, the places where he was actually doing the SAing was in the gym, but it was he had these secret rooms in the back, and he would make me specifically, he would always ask for me, and I was usually the youngest person working there, to come back to the room and put water by the door or hand him water. But he would never open that door when I would come back there. I would just hear voices. I would hear heavy breathing. And I would knock for a minute and no one would ever come. So I would just literally sit the towels and the water down and leave. And then, like, my supervisor would ask me, did you hand it to him? And then I was like, no, he would not open the door. I knocked for like 5 minutes. And he was like, well, that's good enough. He heard you. Maybe he was busy doing something. And then I noticed one of my classmates that was back there. This boy was a boy from a single mother household. And all of a sudden, he was bawling. I saw him when he would come in. He started driving like expensive cars and everything. And again, we went to the same school. So I would be like, oh, wow, he's doing really well now. And he worked there. And I was like, one day he came and talked to me. And I was like, how much are they paying you? And then he just started laughing. He was like, because I'm like, they're not paying me anything. And you're just bawling. Then I saw one of my brother's friends that also went to our school. And I saw him at Walmart, like getting his car fixed. This was like, I saw him, we started talking. I was getting some like tires on my car. And then he asked me what I was doing up there. I was like, oh, I was just walking around Walmart because I'm getting my car fixed. He said, me too. So like we ended up talking and walking through the store. I picked up a few items. Again, he also came from a single mother household and was not doing, like, his family was not that, his family was kind of poor. So yeah, he started, like, we were talking, he bought all my stuff at Walmart. I had like maybe $20 worth of stuff and then like maybe $100+ worth of work that was being done to my car. He paid for everything and told me, and I was just like, oh my gosh, how much they're paying you? They're only paying me like $10 an hour. He laughed it off, didn't say anything, right? Right. So long story short, my friend that I knew from my classes and my brother's friend were both involved in the SAing and part of that indictment against that pastor. And like literally like us kids on the bus and everybody was talking about that for weeks, months maybe. Because everybody was like, oh my gosh, he never said anything. Why the hell would he do this just to get money? But his family was really poor. They stayed in some apartments that they were some poor apartments, but they were not like bad apartments, like hood. It was just like a lot of poor people stayed there. And it was like, it wasn't super bad, but like his mom again was like working like 2 jobs, like, and all of a sudden he just came balling. And I was like really surprised that he was just like throwing money around. Cause I'm like, I know like your family's not doing that well. So where are you getting all this money from? But that just goes to show you everything that glitters is not gold. Everything that like never be envious of what others have, because you never know what they did to get that. So I literally took that to heart. And this whole story was just crazy to me. Again, I grew up in church. When I became a teenager, I literally was slowly trying to transition out of that. Again, I would only go because my mother and my dad would make me go. If my dad went, he would make me go with him. So like sometimes he would skip just like me and he'll let me stay home with him. But if he went, he would make sure I went with him. And then I would just stay with my, like, it was just a whole thing. But like, more with Church Girl Chronicles, guys. This is crazy. Always, 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 always go with your gut feelings. I'm so glad I went with my gut feelings about this certain pastor. I ended up quitting not too long after everything came out because it was just so bad. And of course, they left a lot of members at that gym because it was a big campus. So they lost a lot of members and gym memberships as well. But it was just so crazy to think, like, the guy that's paying you is like sexually, assaulting your classmates. Like, it's crazy. But Church Girl Chronicles Part 1. Come back for Part 2, guys. Have a great day, Exoticals. Bye-bye.